Now, do you have more dominant dogs that, can maybe take her to the next level, or?
You want her to go further?
Is this like max level for her, or?
I don't know. It's a lot of different levels to that, but I mean that's a lot of pressure without actually growling and standing off on her, do a standoff. That's good. He put a lot of pressure for a small dog.
Right.
Now, did she ever try to mount any of the dogs? Because that's what, like I said, we saw at the shelter, was that she wanted to do the mounting.
Yeah, well, sometimes, mounting has to do with stress. Okay? I'm stressed, and so I want to do something dominant. And other times, mounting has to do with reducing stress. It just depends on who's doing it, when they're doing it, and what's happening at the time.
So what she was doing at the shelter then was due to maybe stress and
Sure.
in her environment and
Yeah, and then, I wasn't there, so I don't know what was happening, but usually if a dog mounts right away, it's not a dog that's trying to figure out where you fit in or where they fit in. They're saying, I'm in control. When the mount happens right away, then they're trying to be dominant. And that's probably maybe what you saw. But that dominance can come out of stress. Doesn't mean it's necessarily a dominant dog like we think. It might have a dominant personality that comes out when it's stressed.
Okay. So ultimately, you feel that she can be around other dogs without us having this complete fear of her tearing after?
Yeah, that it's interesting because we even see these tapes and we say, "Do you think it can be done?"
Well, walking on the street is kind of different than being at Brandon's.
Okay, that's a good question.
Being at the dog park,
right.
Even though if I were handling her, she wouldn't end up at a dog park, but you encounter different things on the street.
That's a good question. Now that's a really good. It led into a very good question because most dogs that don't have a problem in the street meeting dogs are generally dogs that are subordinate by nature. Okay, they're just that way, so they see their environment as though it's a predator. When you have dogs that see their environment that's prey, either because it's a learned behavior or genetically they have the ability to be dominant, then they're going to look at signals of a dog coming towards them and interpret it as maybe negative, and they're going to react aggressively. And then, of course, they're on the leash, and then the relationship between you and the dog is not a proper relationship because it's based on just love. It's not necessarily based on leadership. Leadership doesn't mean that you made me sit and you gave me a treat and you told me to go to my bed and all those things, which is positive, under the umbrella of positive reinforcement. Is the leadership I'm talking about is, does this dog know that you are its leader because you can emotionally control it? Not just with a treat, not just with love and affection, but with dominance? Can we make them submit? And you said something earlier today. Yeah, when I raise my voice like, hey, she cowers to that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And so you need to know how to advance on that,
Yes, but that's, her at maybe just a slightly higher level than just her normal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You need to advance on that.
Yeah, because once a dog gets to that
right.
top level of just being intensely excited, maybe you can stop them by verbally saying something, but to me I couldn't do that.
Yeah, because you haven't started off the relationship properly to begin with. The relationship started, just think of it like two people, and we're very cordial with each other. hello, how are you? Have a seat. Would you like something to eat? You know, as opposed to the bell, ding dong, doors open, come in, have a seat. You want something to drink? I'll be out in a minute. You know, one is like, oh, I'm very attentive to you.
Right.
The other is like, you know. So if you don't have that kind of relationship where you can communicate with the dog like that, yes, you're going to have a problem when the dog is at a stress level because you haven't done all this. When you do all this, that's different because now you know the dog more. I know this dog more. You know, I know what she can take.
Because one of the things that we had noticed in different times of taking her out, because she's been there since April, is that she easily submits, like you said, by voice or whatever and all that. But then once she would see a dog, she, like I said, she doesn't, and she didn't do it at Roxbury. So it was really just a shelter that the environment that we saw, but where it's like suddenly she's focused on the dog, and then she was being still calm, but she was having, it was almost like that pent up kind of like I'm waiting for the next thing.
Pent up, and she was waiting. And all of that is true. That's why it's important to have a program set in place where we can produce this type of thing. That's, I mean, you know, I'm always talking about the concept of no kill, but that's how we're going to be able to achieve that. I mean, any other way is just a version of already what's happening, but it doesn't do anything for the person to make them comfortable. As soon as the dog reacts a certain way, the person becomes uncomfortable. And so what we're really saying is, I'm depending upon you to make me feel good, rather than the human controlling the environment to make them feel good. It's backwards, you know, and that's why this program, you know, of socialization is so important, because if you had known this 6 months ago, what could we be within 6 months?
She would have been in a home.
In the home, at the dog park, meeting dogs, right? So the lack of knowledge, fear, the system itself is what will ultimately kill this dog. And then the dog will contribute to it, because if the dog can't understand it from the human's perspective, and it does something from the perspective of nature, then it's destroyed.